Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtike. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 33, the Ras Dance, text number 24 onwards. It is so amazing, Krishna's mercy. We are discussing Rasa dance yesterday and today. And 16th April, here on 16th, it's Purnima. And that's a time for Krishna's Vasant Ras. He does Vasant Ras this Purnima. And in fact, Balramji also does his Ras Leela. He has his own set of gopis. He does Ras Leela with. And Krishna does with his set of gopis. And this Vasant Ras, he does it near at Govardhan, near Govind Kund. Tatascha Krishno Pavane Jalasthala Prasuna Gandha Nila Jushta Diktate Chachara Bringa Pramada Ganavrito Yatha Mad Achyuta Dvirada Karenubhi. Then the Lord strolled through a small forest on the bank of the Yamuna. This forest was filled to its limits with breezes carrying the fragrances of all the flowers growing on the land and the water. Following by his entourage of bees and beautiful women, Lord Krishna appeared like an intoxicated elephant with his she-elephants. So we studied yesterday how Krishna, after Ras Leela, he entered the Yamuna river and all the gopis followed him. And after Yamuna river, they came out walking on the sands of Yamuna. And now they're strolling through a small forest on the bank of Yamuna. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti, it is implicit here that after playing on the water, Lord Krishna had his body massaged, and he then dressed himself in his favorite clothing before resuming his pastime, the gopis. Evam Shashanka Shuvirajita Nisha Sasatya Kamo Anurata Bala Ganaha Sisheva Atmani Avruddho Saurata Sarva Sharat Kavyakta Kavya Katha Rasa Shraya. Although the gopis were firmly attached to Lord Krishna, whose desires are always fulfilled, the Lord was not internally affected by any mundane sex desire. Still, to perform his pastimes, the Lord took advantage of all those moonlit autumn nights, which inspire poetic descriptions of transcendental affairs. It's difficult to translate into English the word rasa, which indicates a spiritual bliss derived from one's loving relationship with Lord Krishna. So there is not a single word in English which can translate rasa. That bliss is experienced in the midst of the spiritual pastimes with the Lord and his devotees. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that great Vaishnava poets like Vyas, Parashar, Jayadev, Leela Shuka, or Bilmangal Thakur, Govardhan Acharya and Srila Rupa Goswami had tried in their poetry to describe the conjugal affairs of the Lord. These descriptions are never complete. However, since the Lord's pastimes are unlimited, thus the attempt to glorify such pastimes is still going on and will go on forever. Lord Krishna arranged an extraordinary season of beautiful autumn nights to enhance his loving affairs. And those autumn nights have inspired transcendental poets since time immemorial. And although it's not mentioned so far, but I read it somewhere, that when Krishna performed this Ras Leela in this beautiful full moon night of Sharad, he and the gopis, when they were dancing, that night became equal to one full day of Brahma. Means 1000 Chaturyoga. That long. Now somebody can have doubts, they can ask questions. How is it possible? For Krishna, everything is possible. There's nothing impossible for him. He's a supreme Lord. He can do whatever he wants. He just wanted to give so much of bliss to the gopis for their devotion, for their surrender, for their love, for their accepting Krishna as everything in their lives. And Krishna reciprocated with making that night as long as the day of Brahma. It's just inconceivable. How can we understand? We cannot. Some say, oh, they must have felt like that. No, yes, the gopis also felt like that, but it was spread or it was lengthened to that long. Shri Parikshit Uvacha Sansthapanaya Dharmasya Prashmaye Tarasya Cha Avatirno Hi Bhagavan Anshena Jagadishvara Sakatham Dharma Setunam Bhakta Karta Virakshita Pratipam Acharad Brahman Paradara Vimarshanam. Parikshit Maharaj said, O Brahman, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Lord of the universe, has descended to this earth along with his plenary portion to destroy irreligion and re-establish religious principles. Indeed, he is the original speaker, follower, and guardian of moral laws. How then could he have violated them by touching other men's wives? See, this was Ashok Prabhuji asked this question. As Shukdev Goswami was speaking, Lord Parikshit noticed that some persons seated in the assembly on the bank of the Ganges were harboring doubts about the Lord's activities. These doubtful persons were karmis, jnanis, and others who were not devotees of the Lord. To clear up their doubts, King Parikshit asked this question on their behalf. Aptakamo yadupati kritavan vajagupsitam kim abhipraya etanna shanshayam chindi suvrata. O faithful upholder of vows, please destroy our doubt by explaining to us what purpose the self-satisfied Lord of the Yadus had in mind when he behaved so contemptibly. It is clear to the enlightened that these doubts will arise in the minds and hearts of persons unfamiliar with the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. Therefore, since time immemorial, great sages and enlightened kings like Parikshit Maharaj have openly raised these questions to provide the authoritative answer for all posterity. Again, this is the beauty of Vedic scriptures and Sanatana Dharma. If there is any doubt, even for the Supreme Lord, one can ask. Of course, Parikshit Maharaj asked very humbly. He did not start challenging. But other places, other faiths, if we just ask questions, I think your head will be cut off. How can you ask questions about our great leader or whatever? But that's not how proper religions are. Because doubts can be there. If I don't understand anything, I can have doubts and I can ask questions. And if I don't get my answers clear, then how can I follow and how can my future generations will be able to follow? Shri Shukavacha. So Shri Shukdev Goswami said, he did not just take out his sword and killed Parikshit Maharaj. Dharma vyatikramo drishta ishvaranam cha sahasam tejiyasam na doshaya vahane sarva bhujo yatha. Shukdev Goswami said, the status of powerful controllers is not harmed by any apparently audacious transgression of morality we may see in them. For they are just like fire, which devours everything fed into it and remains unpolluted. Great, potent personalities are not ruined by an apparent transgression of moral principles. Sridhar Swami mentions the examples of Brahma, Indra, Soma, Vishwamitra, and others. A fire devours all that is fed into it, but the fire does not change its nature. Similarly, a great personality does not fall from his position by an irregularity in behavior. In the following verses, however, Shukdev Goswami makes it clear that if we try to imitate the great personalities ruling the universe, the result will be catastrophic. But these great personalities, they in fact purify others. And Lord Krishna, he says in Bhagavad Gita, just surrender unto me. I'll take care of all your sinful reactions. Do not worry. So by surrendering unto him, and he takes care of all the sinful reactions. So what about he himself? so we cannot compare him with us. So Shukdev Goswami further says, Natat samachare jatu manasapi hi anishvaraha vinashyatya charan modya yatha rudro abhijam visham. One who is not a great controller should never imitate the behavior of ruling personalities, even mentally. If out of foolishness an ordinary person does imitate such behavior, he will simply destroy himself. Just as a person who's not Rudra would destroy himself if he tried to drink an ocean of poison. Of course, we don't imitate Lord Shiva in drinking the ocean of poison. We try to imitate him by smoking ganja. But that's not possible. Oh, Shivji smokes ganja, so I can smoke ganja. But what about him drinking poison? No, we cannot do that. Lord Shiva or Rudra once drank an ocean of poison, and the result was that an attractive blue mark appeared on his neck. But if we were to drink even a drop of such poison, we would die immediately. Just as we should not imitate this pastime of Shiva, we should not imitate Lord Krishna's activities with the gopis. We should clearly understand that while Lord Krishna certainly descends to demonstrate religious principles, he also descends to demonstrate that he is God and we are not. That also must be demonstrated. The Lord enjoys with his internal potency and thus attracts us to the spiritual platform. We should not try to imitate Krishna, for we will suffer severely. But this is what people try to do. There was a Baba named Bisaki Sen during Bhaktivinoda Thakur's time. Bhaktivinoda Thakur was a judge in Jagannath Puri, and there was this Bisaki Sen near Bhubaneswar. And English government, they got the news and the complaints that this Baba is having illicit relationship with many women from the village, and he would be portraying himself as Lord Vishnu, or avatar of Lord Vishnu, that he is having Ras Leela. So English government, very, very shrewd. So they put Bhaktivinoda Thakur in charge of taking care of this Baba. So their point was, okay, let's get both of them fight each other and let's see whoever wins, we'll see. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, being such a great Vaishnava, being a pure devotee, so he came to that village with police constables. So he went to Bisaki Sen and he said, "You're not Vishnu. I mean, we know you are not mentioned in any scriptures. Lord Vishnu is not supposed to incarnate at this time. So why you're doing all this immoral activities?" And that Bisaki Sen was a yogi. He had some yogic powers. So he would do all these magic tricks and people were afraid of him because of his yogic powers. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur was not afraid. So Bisaki Sen told Bhaktivinoda Thakur that I'm Vishnu himself, and I've come here, and I'm going to destroy all this English government and their rule over India. And you come in the middle, I will kill you also, and this and that. Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, forget about all this. And he ordered his policemen to arrest this Baba. Baba tried to do his yogic powers and magics, but the cops, they did not care, and they were afraid in the beginning, but they just still arrested him and took him to Jagannath Puri for his trial. So during the trial, he was kept in the police station jail, and the trial went on for probably 2 months or so. And for all this time, that Baba, he did not eat anything and he did not drink anything. Because of yogic powers, he was staying alive. But he was always threatening Bhaktivinoda Thakur that you will suffer for this. And it was he was very powerful yogic Baba. So it was happening. Bhaktivinoda Thakur's family members, his children, and his daughter, they were getting sick one after the other. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur's wife, Bhagavati Devi, she was saying, let him go. Why you want to mess with him? Look at our family. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur was, no, he is an imposter and he should be punished. And the day when Bhaktivinoda Thakur was supposed to give his judgment, that day he himself got sick, very, very sick. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur, no way, I'm not going to back down. He went to the court on a palanquin that day. He could not even walk. So he went to the court and he gave his judgment to give punishment to this Baba Bisaki Sen, imprisonment for a long time. I don't know how long. And this Baba he was strong. He was, I'm not going to leave you, Bhaktivinoda, or his name was Kedarnath at that time. Kedarnath, I'm not going to leave you. You're going to suffer the consequences. And the police was arrested him and taking him to the jail. And one English officer, he had read somewhere that all these Babas, yogis, they keep their powers in the shikha that we keep. And his shikha was tied. So that means his power was intact in the shikha. So this officer, he jumped on that Baba with his scissors, he cut off that shikha. And immediately, right away, that Baba Bisaki Sen, he fell on the ground, and because he hadn't eaten for 2 months and his spiritual powers were gone, and he just fell down and died right there in front of Bhaktivinoda Thakur and everybody else. And all the followers of Baba who were there inside the court, outside the court, first they were screaming, oh, let him be free and this and that. When he died right in front of them, they all understood he was just an imposter. He was a cheater. So this is what here it is also. We cannot imitate Krishna in any way or imitate Lord Shiva. We have to follow the instructions. So this Baba was trying to imitate and trying to do Ras Leela, so-called Ras Leela. That was completely wrong. Ishvaranam vacha satyam tathaiva charitam kvachit tesham yat svavayo svacho yuktam buddhi manstat samacharet. The statements of the Lord's empowered servants are always true, and the acts they perform are exemplary when consistent with those statements. Therefore, one who is intelligent should carry out their instructions. The word Ishvara is usually defined in Sanskrit dictionaries as Lord, Master, Ruler, and also capable, potent to perform. Srila Prabhupada often translated the word Ishvara as controller, which brilliantly synthesizes the two fundamental concepts of Ishvara, namely a master or ruler and a capable or a potent person. A master may be incompetent, but a controller is a master or lord who in fact makes things happen. The Parameshwara, the Supreme Ishvara, the Supreme Controller is, of course, God Krishna, the cause of all causes. All the people in general, especially in the Western countries, are not aware of the fact. Powerful personalities control our universe. The modern impersonal concept of the universe depicts an almost totally lifeless cosmos in which the earth flows meaninglessly. But they don't know there is a controller behind all these laws of the universe. There is some lawmaker. So that controller, we cannot imitate. We have to follow his laws. It's a long purport, but let's go to the next paragraph. Last paragraph. Finally, a distinction must be made between the Lord and his empowered servants. An empowered servant of the Lord, as in the case of Brahma, may experience a remnant of reactions to previous activities according to the law of karma. But the Lord is eternally free from any entanglement in the laws of karma. He is on a unique platform. So that's why Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Janma Karma Chame Divyam. My birth and my pastimes are all transcendental, not material. Kushla Charite Naishama is Swartho na Vidyate Viparyena Vanartho Nirahankarinam Prabhu. My dear Prabhu, Shukdev Goswami is telling Parikshit Maharaj, when these great persons who are free from false ego act piously in this world, they have no selfish motives to fulfill. And even when they act in apparent contradiction to the laws of piety, they are not subject to sinful reactions. So apparent contradiction, it's not contradiction, apparent. Kimutakil Satwanam Deryang Martya Divokasam Ishitushchet Chitvianam Kushala Kushalanvyaha. How then could the Lord of all created beings, animals, men, and demigods, have any connection with the piety and impiety that affect his subject creatures? As explained in text 32, even great personalities empowered by the Lord are free from the laws of karma. And what to speak of the Lord himself? After all, the law of karma is created by him and is an expression of his omnipotent will. Therefore, his activities, which he performs out of his own pure goodness, are never subject to criticism by ordinary living beings. Yadpad pankaj parag nishev tripta yoga prabhava viduta akhila karma bandha swaram charanti munyopi nanayamanas tasya chayatava kusha kut eva bandha. Material activities never entangle the devotees of the Supreme Lord, who are fully satisfied by serving the dust of his lotus feet. Nor do material activities entangle those intelligent sages who have freed themselves from the bondage of all fruitive reactions by the power of yoga. So how could there be any question of bondage for the Lord himself, who assumes his transcendental forms according to his own sweet will? So no material bondage or material activities for the Lord. Gopinam tat patinam cha sarvesham eva dehinam yo antash charati swadhyaksha krida nenehe dehbhak. He who lives as an overseeing witness within the gopis and their husbands, and indeed within all embodied living beings, assumes forms in this world to enjoy transcendental pastimes. We certainly do not assume our bodies to enjoy transcendental pastimes as the Lord does. We eternal souls have accepted material bodies by force because of a foolish attempt to enjoy this material world. The Lord's forms are all eternal, spiritual existence and cannot be reasonably equated with our temporary flesh. Since Lord Krishna is the Supreme Lord dwelling within the gopis, their so-called husbands, and all other living beings, what possible sin could there be on his part if he embraces some of the beings he himself has created? So everybody is his energy. He's the original controller, Ishwar, Parameshwar of everybody. What fault could be there if the Lord goes with the gopis to a secret place, since he already dwells within the most secret part of every living being, the core of the heart? Anugrahaya bhaktanam manusham deham astita bhajate tadrishi krida ya shrutva tatparo bhavet. When the Lord assumes a human-like body to show mercy to his devotees, he engages in such pastimes as will attract those who hear about them to become dedicated to him. Srila Jiva Goswami explains in this connection that when Lord Krishna descends to this world in his original two-handed form, out of kindness he manifests that form in a way his devotees conditioned in human society can perceive and understand. Thus here it is stated, Manusham Deham Astita. He assumes a human-like body. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur glorifies the Lord's conjugal pastimes, stating that these romantic affairs have an inconceivable spiritual potency to attract the polluted heart of conditioned souls. So all we have to do is get attracted and to these pastimes or any other pastime, develop a mood to serve Krishna and the gopis. Then that is our perfection. Nasuyan khalu krishnaya mohitastasya mayaya manyamana swaparshasthan swana swandaran brajokasaha. The cowherd men, bewildered by Krishna's illusory potency, thought their wives had remained home at their sides. Thus they did not harbor any jealous feelings against Krishna. So the material bodies were at home. They went there for Ras Leela in the spiritual bodies. The gopis' jealous husbands consorted not with their wives, but with double manufactured by Maya. Thus these men never actually had any intimate contact with the divine ladies of Raj. The gopis are the internal energy of the Lord and can never belong to any other living being. Krishna arranged their apparent marriage to other men simply to create the excitement of Parakiya Ras, a love between a married woman and her paramour. These activities are absolutely pure because they are the Lord's pastimes, and saintly persons since time immemorial have relished these supreme spiritual events. And if they were not pure, Shukdev Goswami and other acharyas would have nothing to do describing these pastimes in so much detail. There are only 2 shlokas left in this chapter, so I want to complete that. Vramratra upavritte vasudevānumodita anichantayo yayurgopya swagrihan bhagavad priya. After an entire night of Brahma had passed, Lord Krishna advised the gopis to return to their homes. Although they did not wish to do so, the Lord's beloved consorts complied with this command. So it became whole night of Brahmaji. That's 1000 Chaturyugas. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains, by human calculation, 1,000 ages taken together is the duration of Brahma's one day, and such also is the duration of his night. Thus 1,000 ages entered within a single 12-hour night when Lord Krishna performed his Ras dance. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur compares this inconceivable compression of time to the fact that many universes fit neatly within the 40-mile range of earthly Vrindavan. So for Krishna, everything is possible. Or one may consider that Mother Yashoda could not encircle the small abdomen of child Krishna with numerous ropes, and that another time he manifested many universes within his mouth. So for Krishna, everything is possible. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur further explains that the words Vasudeva Anumodita indicates that Lord Krishna advised the gopis to assure the success of these pastimes, you and I should keep them secret. The word Vasudeva, name of Krishna, also indicates Lord Krishna's plenary expansion, who acts as a presiding deity of the consciousness. So out of material embarrassment and fear of the elders within the gopis' hearts, and therefore it was only with great reluctance the young girls returned home. And the last verse, I'll just go to the translation. Anyone, now this is the Shruti Phal of hearing this Ras Leela pastime. Anyone who faithfully hears or describes the Lord's playful affairs with the young gopis of Vrindavan will attain the Lord's pure devotion service. Thus he will quickly become sober and conquer lust, the disease of the heart. So this is what we have to do. With faith, we have to read and describe these pastimes of Ras Leela. The extraordinary power of Lord Krishna's conjugal pastimes is clearly revealed here. Qualitatively, the Lord's spiritual, loving pastimes are the diametric opposite of material lusty affairs, so much so that simply by hearing about the Lord's pastimes, a devotee conquers sex desire. By reading pornographic literature, hearing about material romance, we certainly do not conquer sex desire, but increase our lust. But hearing or reading about the Lord's conjugal affairs has exactly the opposite effect because they are of opposite nature, being purely spiritual. Therefore, it is by the causeless mercy of Lord Krishna that he exhibits his Ras Leela within this world. If we become attached to his narration, we'll experience the bliss of spiritual love and thus reject the perverted reflection of that love, which is called lust. So this is the Shruti Phal, this is the prime, most benediction of hearing about Ras Leela pastimes of Krishna. So thus ends the 10th canto, the 33rd chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam entitled the Rasa Dance. So we'll stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
First, I want to wish you for your birthday.
Oh, thank you, Mother. Let me stop.